This is my speech of information. Go. Alright. When you hear the word music, what comes to your mind? You probably think of Beatles, some sick riffs, your favorite indie band, maybe What Does the Fox Say? Well, there is one backbone to all of the music that we think of today. One thing that has been at the feet of everything we've done in the last 50 years, at least. And that is the electric guitar. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So, here's the thing about the electric guitar. Everyone knows it. You've been hearing electric guitar sounds since before you were creating memories in your brain. But the thing is that while it's just everywhere, people actually tend to not know too much about it other than that it makes cool sounds. So I thought that I would go ahead and explain to you guys how this thing all works. So now, I'm no historian. I don't sit around all day and study the political landscape of the 1550s, but I do like rock and roll. And so I actually think it's kind of cool how this thing came about. So I would like to share that with y'all today. So back in the 20s, big bands were the big thing. Big bands were the dominant faces of music. And they had a big problem. Their rhythm section was the Spanish guitar, and the Spanish guitar, which is the normal acoustic guitar that we see today, it was not loud enough. They were playing it with steel strings and playing it so hard to try to generate enough sound for the rest of the big brass instruments in the band that the players' fingers would bleed. It was regular. So they needed to fix this. A guy named Rickenbacker decided that he would try to fix this by creating the first electric guitar called the Rickenbacker in the 20s. So this thing was nicknamed the frying pan because it looked ridiculous. It looked like a banjo, but crossed with an electric guitar. So weird. And as it turns out, it didn't sell very well. But it wasn't because of its looks. As Monica Smith from the Smithsonian Institute said, someone can come up with the greatest invention around, but if the culture isn't ready for that invention, it won't go anywhere. And that's what happened. Music simply wasn't ready for what the electric guitar had to offer yet, and so that invention stayed on the back burner for a little bit. Things, however, changed in the 50s whenever Gibson came out with a revolutionary guitar called the ES-150. That thing took off. Everyone wanted it, and Elvis started using it in every single one of his songs, and people finally started to take notice. This thing sounds pretty good. So, now we know how the guitar came to be. Several of you might have already known that, but one thing I found that barely anyone actually knows is how the thing works. And let me tell you, it's actually not that complicated. So, I have an electric guitar here. So the heart of this instrument is not this fingerboard, it's not this head, it's not even the body. The heart of this instrument, what makes it all happen, is right here. This is called a pickup. A pickup is made of 6 magnets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the magnets are surrounded underneath by a copper wire that wraps around it 7,200 times. It's finer than human hair, and if you it's longer than 3 football fields. And what this thing does is whenever power courses through this pickup right here, the pickup, using the wire and the magnets, creates an electromagnetic field right about here, around this area. And these strings, which are magnetic themselves, whenever you pluck the string, it creates a disturbance in that bubble that they created right here. And the pickups, which is why they're called pickups, detect that. Now, that sounds insane. The thing is, it's not as hard as you'd think, because we already knew that notes are a certain number of vibrations. For example, concert A, the note that all the orchestra tunes to at the beginning of an orchestra concert, that's 440 vibrations per minute. We already knew that, so all you had to do is plug in those numbers, tell the magnet, hey, count, and it counts, and then it knows what note you're playing. All right, so enough with the lessons. Let's talk a bit about how the electric guitar got to be so important and how it became an icon for us. So, yeah, this is a cool instrument, all right? But being cool doesn't make it an icon that can sell for $2 million. Yes, I said $2 million. That one guitar that Jimi Hendrix played at Woodstock, the white Stratocaster, sold for $2 million in 2008 or so. And that sounds like an insane number, but it's sold. So, guitars are here, cool. What happened was, they did fine as a rhythm instrument. I told you they were for big bands, and yes, that's what they were for. People played them in blues. Elvis used it as a bass, basically. It did fine. But things changed when the Beatles came up with a cool idea. They decided, hey, this thing can play cool stuff called licks. They decided to start playing in notes with the guitar. Turns out this thing sounded pretty good. Beatles kind of took off. They did pretty good. They found that if you added these licks into your songs sounded better. Wow, what an idea. And that was cool too for about 5 years when a couple of very important guys hit the scene. Those were Jimi Hendrix and the Rolling Stones. Jimi Hendrix Jimi Hendrix was a jazz rhythm guitarist, underground. He was okay. He was a pretty good rhythm guitarist. But one day he said, I don't want to be a rhythm guitarist anymore. I want to push this thing. I'm pretty good. And so he decided to say, hey, I wonder what the electric guitar can do. 3 years later, he was at Woodstock playing with his teeth. Nobody knew that you could play the electric guitar with your teeth. It was the craziest thing. The guitar immediately, thanks to him and the Rolling Stones, became the star of the show. Everybody wanted to see what crazy things you could do with the electric guitar. Pushing it became the cool thing. It became the music. So ripping it was the thing all the way into the 70s until guitarists like Van Halen literally made rips into an icon. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just going to continue. So yeah, artists like Van Halen turned making crazy stuff on the guitar into some of the most memorable sounds we know to this day. So here we are, the world's most famous instrument, broken down in just a few minutes. And as you can see, what makes this thing special is more than just a feeling. Okay, I'm sorry, but hope you all enjoyed. Keep rocking on.